it's a challenge to get there. But the earlier you start, the better off you are, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing. We just when you're young, when you're entering adulthood, you just the more you learn, the more you face, the the more you try to grow yourself and not just think one way. There's no path, you know. There really isn't. People will tell you that are 50 years old, 60 years old, all the way up, you know. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You just have to face the things you do, you know. You just have to build, and if you start young, if you start trying to do some of these things, it's going to work out for you. Something is going to.
Yeah. Get on something while you're young and at least start training yourself. I mean, think of all the... you could guarantee yourself success in the future if you're 16 years old right now and you tell yourself, I'm going to spend 20 minutes a day learning how to code.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're 16 years old, by the time you're 18 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, you're going to be to the point where you have knowledge that employers are looking for to where you can make six figures.
Yeah.
You know, just pursue something if you're so young.
Yeah, to acquire new skills. Definitely one of my biggest things is definitely try new things. Like, I'm getting into some things now that I never thought I would be. Like, I never had any interest, and now I'm practicing archery, and I'm gonna go bow hunting, and I'm learning a lot about that. But I'm learning how to be tech savvy, which I'm not very good at, but I'm learning different things about that, and it's just like, the more you learn, the more you want to grow, the better it's all gonna be for you, you know. It's just little things, and I really like to be like self-efficient on a lot of things. Like, I don't like to ask anybody for help, and I want to get to a point where I can basically be reliant on everything. So I'm trying to get into aquaponics. That's another thing I'm interested in. Do you know what that is?
Plants?
Yeah, it's a combination of growing plants and fish at the same time, and you take like a big tank, basically, of fish, and they release, some chemical they release into the plants. It's set up so that they're under it, and then they release it into the plants. It helps the plants grow quicker and faster, and the plants release stuff to help the fish grow. And it's like a system that works. It works in nature, so people do it year round in their homes.
So how's this make you less needy for people?
Because you don't have to go to the grocery store, because you can...
Oh, so it's real plants?
Yeah.
Like you're growing carrots and it's an actual farm?
Yeah. It's like farming... Oh. I think it just died. That's disappointing.
You have to film the outro on your phone real quick.
Yeah, that's true. I can do that. Okay. Yeah.
You need to have the Joe Rogan table so I don't have to break my neck.
Welcome to the Adventures of Bean. I'm Bean, and this is Christian.
Hi.
That's Christian. So, anything you want to say about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, let me introduce myself. My name's Christian. I am a real estate agent, and I am 21 years old, and that's what I do. So,
just turned 21.
Yep, just turned 21.
How'd your birthday go?
It went great. I had some wine.
Some wine?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, you were at the sangria stand.
Yeah.
Was
nice
it good?
outdoor place. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Good community attraction, I think.
Yeah.
For Massillon.
Yeah, they're doing well. They just opened... When did they open? This year or last year? It's pretty relevant, like, pretty new. Relatively new.
It's a hot place in Maslin.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people there,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of local businesses to where if you are just out and about, go there.
Yeah, I think it brings in a bit of business too, like to the other shops around, you know.
Mhm.
Go have some wine and then go shopping a little bit.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a good place to drink. So.
Yeah, I mean that's. I think our group, you're a part of Manners Matter Maslin, so we're a lot of what we do is like trying to get people to buy locally. I mean,
Mhm.
we try to bring stuff to the community, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's introduce Manners Matter because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people probably don't know about it.
Yeah.
There's a group of 4 of us, and are we supposed to look into the camera?
It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. But we're a group of 4 of us, and what we do is just try to spread kind of kindness, happiness, and Maslin, and we try to make an impact in the community, being the younger generation. So.
Yeah, we're all kind of brought together by Frank Hill, and he just was tired of seeing all the negativity on Facebook and throughout the community as a whole. And then him and Christian got together, and they were, you know, spewing ideas and stuff. And then somehow I got into the picture. I was supposed to be the cameraman, and then kind of just became part of it. And then Alexis got brought in, and now we're working on trying to be a little bit bigger than what we are now. You know, the possibilities are pretty much endless. You know, it's really hard though. I think it's like difficult to know where. I don't know. It's difficult not to get started. Like we have the base now, but it's hard throughout the pandemic that we're going through. You know.
Mhm.
Throughout COVID, it's real touch and feel, and kind of working on like the, I don't want to say business, but the management kind of aspect of it right now. That's what we're coming up with, ideas and things we want to accomplish.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that we want to do, you know.
Yeah.
So you would think in the midst of this pandemic, there'd be kind of new ideas coming off the top of our head. So many things that we could do to help, given so many people who are impacted by this.
Yeah.
But on a national scale, it's big, but it's also kind of difficult to come up with ideas. So,
Yeah.
you know, we did the grocery delivery
Yeah.
for the senior citizens, and right before the pandemic, we were doing Valentine's deliveries from the kids at a local school to the senior citizens,
Yeah.
and we delivered those. And then throughout that, we've been trying to keep it positive on Facebook,
Yeah.
and keep posting things to combat all the negativity you see on Facebook, because I think it has a negative connotation with young people,
Yeah.
because we're all on different websites, but Facebook is kind of known for you know, your aunt on there either complaining about politics or on there posting you know, statuses about crocheting and knitting. Like
Yeah.
that's really all it is. So it doesn't have much of appeal for young people who are just kind of tired of that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're trying to at least bring some relevance to everybody. And
Yeah, I think when all this starts to die down and all the pandemic and stuff is starting to be over with, probably more towards next year, we'll start to, some of the ideas and plans that we had for this year, we'll be able to accomplish next year. We had a lot of ideas, and some of the things we had ideas for just weren't able to work out. And like, when we come up with ideas, we have to think of all the possibilities that could come from that, and some things just don't work throughout this. Like, I don't know any examples off the top of my head, but there's some things that just like aren't able to happen right now.
Absolutely, and I mean, you make a good point that we'll come back strong next year, but I think as the restrictions are taken off of the mask policies and that sort of thing, able to kind of get out there and do a little more. And we have some things in the works that
Yeah, more
doing.
people will be apt to volunteer and be in groups and
Mhm.
be able to accomplish more. Because what we need to do, what we're trying to do, is get the community behind us and get a following, and people want to see the community be great. But right now, people are scared, and they don't want to go out and do things.
Yeah, absolutely. And to bring my work into this, with the housing market, it's really kind of up. I think a lot of people are online looking for homes,
Yeah.
and you see that just with the volume of sales. Any home that gets put for sale is sold right away, and kind of a nice little segue into this topic, but it's been really positive kind of for everybody, I think.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of businesses that weren't necessarily doing great before all this, they're starting to see different ways they can do things. People are seeing new things that they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing a light to people in their homes, like what they need for their homes, what they like, spending more time with each other and learning different ways and working in different ways, and people need different things, and they're looking. It's like a time of reflection right now, but there's also so much going on. Like, I feel like 2020 is the year that everything's just coming out, and anything is possible at this point. Like, anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if we're going to keep going down this path or if things are going to improve.
Is this a good path or is this a bad path?
Yeah.
I mean, what comes of everything going on? What comes next? What's happening? Like, there's probably things that we don't even know are in the midst of happening.
Yeah, there's deals being made behind the scenes with different companies, and there's a lot of companies that are closing their doors. And I think,
Yeah.
If we're like this, at this time of next year, August of next year, or September of next year, um, who knows who's going to be able to stick that out, because what we were talking about before we started, spending and kind of keeping a budget to keep yourself afloat,
Yeah.
which is something I encounter being an independent contractor. Essentially, a lot of businesses, they don't have the money put back for 12 months.
Yeah.
And on top of time served. So
Yeah.
it's
And that
crazy to
definitely
think about.
that definitely changes people's perspectives. You need to be prepared to a sense, and you need to have a plan in action if something were to happen. And I think a lot of people are more of, let's live day to day, let's month to month, whatever it is, like week to week, year to year, and they're not prepared for something devastating to happen. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be like a doomsday prepper,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have something aside just in case.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people our age aren't preparing for that passive income that you should be preparing yourself with.
Yeah.
So, doing the things that you might not necessarily, you might have to put work into them, but in times of stress or in times of uncertainty, you're going to make money off of something. You're going to be guaranteed of something. So, whether that's a rental that you're putting out, or it's something that's a simple commodity, like say drop shipping. I mean, Amazon, for example, I'm sure their sales are up.
Yeah.
So,
Positive.
doing things, they're up because not as many people are going to stores in person. So, there's a lot of different ways to look at the passive income, but the message is that if you're relying on something where you have to trade hours for time or hours for money, you're not going to go very far. And even in a time like this, if they unemploy you or something like that, you need something that you can fall back on.
Yeah. What are those businesses? What have they been saying? Essential businesses. That's the word I was looking for. But I think a lot of people are thinking about their career path too and what's essential, and then you think about, oh, what really is essential? What can I be doing that no matter what happens, I'm gonna have work? Like I'm in the medical field. Uh, I help people with developmental disabilities. You know, I take care of them, make sure their house is in order and stuff. And we can't be out of work at all because those individuals need they need care. You know, no matter what, like no matter what day, no matter 24/7, whatever. And a lot of people are like, oh, let's get into the medical field because not a day they didn't have work, you know, they 24/7 and things like that, like service people you need. And that's like the big uh, push is for everybody to go to college. And I don't have anything against people going to college or anything, but there's also, you need people to be in craftsmen, you need to be people to build houses and know how to do that, fix cars, and be in the medical field.
So you're saying have a trade that you know, but even if it's not your primary hustle, it's something that you could fall back on.
Yeah, and they're just skills that, I mean, you could have a career out of that too, but if you have
Absolutely.
a skill, that's something that you can take with you. And I think more people need to be knowledgeable and need to learn some of these skills just in case, even if it's not their main thing. Like, I'm constantly working on learning new things. Like, I just started getting into bow hunting. You know, that's gonna save me money on meat, and it's a skill that I can use. I work with wood every once in a while. That's something that I can use. I just gather more information that's not just one thing. Like, I like to know a little bit about everything, just for the sake of being prepared.
Absolutely, and I think I'm really different, you know, because I don't know a lot of the trades or anything like that. I try to apply any skill I can to be techie, or whether that's sales or tech, or just being able to actively listen and you know, execute something, or execute a job that I need to do. You know, I like to do stuff. I like to dream, I guess. Like, I like to dream about what I could do to work less but to have more money.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that everybody dreams of, but the biggest thing that holds them back is everybody's trading their time for money.
Yeah.
And you know, you need to have more $1,000 hours and not $10 hours. So I'm not saying it's bad to have a job, because it's good to have the stability, but everybody, whether you have an hourly job or not, needs to be thinking about the things that they could do where they are not trading their time for money. Because in times like this, you physically can't spend time because some things hold you back. I mean, some people cannot work at what they're good at because something's holding them back. So if you can trade that one skill you have for you know, a pursuit or a business idea that you could pursue, you'll prepare yourself for the next time that something like this happens, where you can't spend your time at the thing that you do to provide for your family, because people lose everything. I mean, people do that every day.
Yeah, and I think it's that's part of just building yourself as a young person, having more than one way to go, you know? Like, things don't always work out, as everybody knows. Your job doesn't always work out. You're not going to work at this forever. You're not going to work at this forever. You know, people go through jobs, and it's acquiring different skills to do something different with. Like, for example, you know, you have a skill at woodcraft, whatever. You're making something out of wood. And maybe you pick up something from your job as a healthcare provider or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is something they could use, and I can make that. So it's using more than one. You can't be one-sided, one-minded into one thing. You have to take in all information and see what can work with what. Because if you
From
have
your angle.
yeah, because you have multiple skills, or you hear different things, you have knowledge of different things, and you can use those towards this, like opening a business. If you know how to do A, B, and C, those are going to help you with this.
Right. And I think a lot of people struggle with how they're going to find the idea. Like, you know, I know people who said they're 40, 50 years old and said, I've never found my dream job. I've never found what I want to do. But what they don't realize is that, you know, you live through this life and you only have the brain. Everybody who's ever lived has the same brain you have.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to take that idea that comes to your head that other people have had. When you have these ideas, you need to execute on them. So all the greats that have come up with a great idea, they've executed on something that's just popped up in their head.
Yeah, and the thing is most people, you know, you talked about people liking stability and having that. A lot of the reason people get to where they are, a lot of people that I know, my aunt, any small business owner, you know, anybody that, or any business owner, even if they're up high or, you know, they've started their own business, anybody that's ever made anything, they had to at one point jump into the unknown, and they had no idea how that was going to turn out. Was it going to fail? Were they going to lose everything they put into that, all the money? Because you need money to make money.
Absolutely, but it's not going to fail unless you give up.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw something the other day. Elon Musk, for a week when he was 17, lived on $1 a day.
Yeah.
And he lived on hot dogs and oranges.
Oh boy. You can finish that idea.
So the idea is that you can't fail unless you just can't, unless you give up. You can run out of money, but you are not going to lose everything you've built unless you give up and say, oh, I'm going to go get a regular job. So if you can suffer through the shit, or you can put yourself in a position to where you don't really have to give too much to live, like I do with the budget, you know, you're going to be a lot better off. So.
Anyways, we were talking about, you know, diving into something new and learning stuff. But, alright, so my perspective on that is it's like a mantra. You know what a mantra is?
Yeah.
Okay, it's, for anybody who doesn't know, it's something you repeat to yourself, or, you know, like something you live by that you repeat to yourself. And it's like manifestation almost. Like, if you say this is going to happen, or if you want this to happen, and you keep reiterating that to yourself, eventually it'll come. And my thing is dream, create, innovate. So you think of an idea, and then you actually make it, or, you know, you work on it, whatever. And if it doesn't work, then you innovate it. You make it better than what it was before. And that's something like I always, you know, something isn't working for me, and I come up with a new idea, and then I make that idea come to life, whatever it is, and then I make it better. And that's just like growth. That's what you need to grow, is you need to have ideas. You need to make those ideas actually come. That's probably the hard. I think it's also like 3 steps that get harder each time. Like, everybody has ideas for the most part, you know? And that's the easy part. Everybody has ideas. Second part is actually acting on those ideas. That's where people don't go. Less people go. And then the innovation, that idea didn't work. Most people are going to be like, oh, that didn't work, done with that. You know, but if you sit back and you thought it was a real good idea at first, you're going to, you know, it was a good idea. Maybe you just didn't hit it right. You just didn't get the right consistency or whatever. So you got to innovate it. You got to make it better. And then eventually, after you keep making it better, it's going to work in some way, you know?
Mhm.
Or it might bring you, if it doesn't work, it's going to bring you a new idea, and that's going to help propel you. And all these small ideas, and then you can finally make them keep growing and make them into one, and then that's what you become, is all these little ideas. You build off them, and then you get to a point and you just keep building. I mean, that's how I think, is I just want to keep going. Like, I know where I'm at now, I know where I want to be, and if that doesn't work out, I'm going to keep going to the next thing.
Mhm.
I don't feel like a lot of young people are building those themselves all around. They're just focusing on one small thing.
Right. Oh, you have to try to act on those ideas, because, you know, if you want to be good, you have to learn, and if you have to want to learn, you have to fail.
Yeah.
And there's no better time to fail in your 20s. I mean,
No.
everybody else is, all the wealthy people and everything. 35 is young. 34 is young to be a CEO of a company.
Yeah.
If you're our age, that is forever from now, and it's good to think about, but it's also, troubling to think about all the times that you should force yourself to fail, because that's the only way you're going to learn, and you should at least take the risk. And if you fail, which a lot of the time you do because you're just starting out at it, you're going to learn so much more.
Yeah.
And when you're having those experiences that maybe people have encountered before, when you encounter your next failure, these are two lessons that are in your head. And if those are two lessons that nobody else has learned, your brain is going to make the connection of how you could solve two issues with one idea. And that's where ideas come from. And so if you can just take notes, and like on your iPhone, in my notes app or my reminders, I have over 1,000 reminders,
Yeah.
because they're all my ideas. And to build off of what you said, a great idea, you might get the first part of it, and then 8 or 10 years down the road, you'll get the second half of the great idea.
Yeah.
And then you can act on this really perfect idea that nobody's had before. And I think it's really important to document your feelings, which I don't do that, but my ideas I at least do document. And
Yeah.
I'm an inventive type of person, so I that's my whole, like you said, mantra. I mean, I always
Yeah.
repeat these things to myself.
Yeah. And that's another thing is with the ideas, is it's, for me, it's really easy because I know how to make an idea. I just think, here's how I think every idea happens, is you find something that you have a problem with. Like how Frank was sitting there and he was like, oh, I hate all this Facebook stuff. And you fix it. Whatever that problem is, you fix it. I hate all the negativity on Facebook. What can I do to get all that negativity off? And then he came up with something like this. And it's just little things. Like, if you have a problem with something or something isn't working, what can you do to fix it? What fixes that? And you come up with something. And that's it. It's like you have a leak in your house. You need something to seal it. What can I use? And then you fix it. That's something that works. So then you just, that's the idea. I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you have an idea that is really good, if you write it down and you just take the baby steps to try and develop it and try to figure out what the next step is, you'll take yourself down this rabbit hole that will lead to a whole world of challenges.
Yeah.
And if you can start defeating these challenges, or just overcoming these challenges, I mean, that's the path to success.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, I heard it somewhere, I don't know, I've probably heard it a million times, honestly, from different ways I've heard it, but you have to enjoy the process, and I didn't see that probably a year ago. I was just doing stuff because A, I needed money, and B, it was just monotonous stuff that I didn't want to be doing. But I really sat down. I mean, I didn't sit down, but I was just I just learned to enjoy the process because I knew what it would bring. I knew that it would bring knowledge. I knew that I would learn things just by being in my own head. I'm like, oh, this is what this does. This is how I can do this. This is how I can apply that to something else. And I'm like, dang, I really like working hard. I actually enjoy the process of doing things. I don't even care what the outcome is. I enjoy this. Like sitting here doing this podcast. I enjoy setting up everything. I enjoy just sitting here talking.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the outcome is from this, that's whatever. But I'm just like, I enjoy the process, and you need to learn how to enjoy the process. And I think that's something that's very difficult for people. Like, people every day at work, they're like, I hate going to work, I hate that. And I'm like, I do too, to a sense, but then again, I like getting things perfect. I like learning from making mistakes, having those failures, and I don't know why. Like, I just learned to enjoy it because I knew what would happen afterwards.
Yeah. I think a lot of people take those, man, he switched back to work and it switched the tone of like the entrepreneurship because then he said work and I was like, oh, it took me back to that work pace because I remember working and how it sucked to have a boss, you know.
Yeah.
And, I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you enjoy your job or not, the fruits of not only overcoming those obstacles with being an entrepreneur, but just to reap those rewards, it's really, really rewarding. And oftentimes when you do have an idea, you will think you've succeeded, but shortly after you realize that's only the beginning.
Yeah.
Hopefully, because you can have an idea and you can do all the monotonous tasks that come to your head. You can sit there for 8 hours a day and work at your idea, but eventually you're going to kind of burn yourself out from just sitting there and doing what you think is the right thing. Sometimes you need to get out there and just spread the word and tell people about your idea, or get, if it's a good idea, it should spread. Hypothetically, like we've learned with Manners Matter, it's a positive thing. There's not a lot of positive things out there, so the message spreads much easier. But when you're an entrepreneur and you have no type of voice in a fast-moving world where millions of dollars are moving through it, whether it's an industry or a new industry that you're trying to start, oftentimes the point you've gotten to, a lot of people have stopped at. And you have to have that next breakthrough, and something has to shift in your head to where you can have that next breakthrough.
Yeah.
And the more you focus yourself on the distractions, the longer that you're holding yourself from having that breakthrough.
Yeah, I also, I read a book by Warren Buffett. I forget what it's called, but I was trying to get into stocks. I had a little bit of money sitting aside, and I wanted to get into stocks. It was probably a year or two ago. So I'm reading this book, and I probably got, 50 pages in. It was a really big book. But I got 50 pages in, not very far. And it said in there, it was like, the number one investment you can make is investing in yourself. And then it went on to explain why. And it was like, because you are not going to let your idea fail. If you invest in yourself, you're the only one that's in charge of it. You're the only one that can take it somewhere. And you're not going to sit there and let your investment fail. That's you. Like, you're not going to let yourself fail. And that was what I gathered from it. I was like, man, I just need to start investing in myself. So every little thing that I go to buy, everything, my knowledge, that's an investment. People invest in college, going to college. That's an investment in themselves. And if they fail, that's on them. I mean, nobody can do anything but them, and you're going to sit back and watch yourself fail. I don't think so.
Mm. Well, uh, I've learned that some people will blind themselves from the plain facts and will completely block out a vibe that they're getting from their business, where it's like telling them, you better do something or it's going to crash. You better do something or it's going to crash. You better do something. And people do blind themselves to it until they hit a brick wall and they can't get past it and everything comes falling down. And a lot of the times the reasons that happens is because people believe that it's their business and it can't fail because it's their baby. I mean, some people are simply maybe not too lazy, but they lose interest. It's probably a combination of losing interest, being lazy,
not being open-minded, being stubborn.
well, right, and getting too confident, thinking that you're good at it, or sometimes over-improving it and thinking you're trying to be better than everybody. That you're overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a perfect balance in there that falls, or that there's a perfect balance that lies in there that I think every successful business has achieved, on top of hours of hard work and effort. And I think the better that you can find yourself on that scale, the quicker success will come. But if you're not making the right decisions, or you're doing something incorrectly and you keep doing something incorrectly, or you keep doing a monotonous task, you're not pleasing anybody by spending time doing something. It's really difficult to have that mental struggle of, I need to get out there and I need to do my idea, and I need to get out there and I need to get it started, because just getting it started, like I said
That's
earlier,
half
is
the
just
battle.
It is half the battle, but it's also just the first step.
Yeah.
And then you have to repeat, and you have to repeat, and you have to repeat.
Yeah, I was living with my aunt, and I started working from her when I was 18, and she said every time I would go, I would complain. I was like, man, I hate going to work. She's like, getting there is half the battle. If you show up, that's half the battle. And I was like, alright, if I just show up places on time, then I'm halfway done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of your day is just doing what you do. But that's, I forget what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it was something, I don't know. I lost it.
You're good.
You kept going on, and I was like, ah.
I know, it happens to me too.
Yeah.
Well, I get what you're saying with, oh gosh, don't let me lose it. We got nothing to talk about. No, what were you saying though about your aunt just now? You were saying that she said,
Getting there is half the battle.
yeah.
Showing up is half the battle.
Yeah, and showing up is half the battle, but you also have to keep showing up.
Yeah.
And
It's every day.
it's every day, because if it's not, you're not. If you show up for 4 days a week, but there's somebody else showing up for 5 days a week, that adds up.
Yeah.
So you have to show up, but if you're your own boss, in that sense, you have to hold yourself accountable. I'm my own boss. If somebody was standing here telling me what to do to be a millionaire in the next 5 years, what would they be telling me to do right now? You have to step outside of it to avoid those monotonous tasks of just telling yourself that it's okay, and telling yourself that you're working, and that if it fails, it's some external force's fault, not yours.
Yeah, and that's, I just remembered what I was gonna say is, with the business owners, and they're letting stuff fail, they're not being open-minded enough. You have to really listen. You don't have to listen. Okay. You have to listen to everybody, You have to hear everybody, what they have to say about your product, your service, your business, whatever. Because even negative comments are helpful. Actually, I come to think that negative comments impact me more to do something about whatever their complaint is or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The good comments, yeah, they're nice, you know? It's rewarding to hear somebody say something good about what you're doing. But it helps you more when people have a problem with it. It brings you, oh, why do they have a problem with it? And it leads you down like the rabbit hole of what can I do to fix it. And that's just how people grow. I forget where you ended up on.
Oh God. What were we
That
talking?
was like a minute ago. See, that's my memory is so bad. That's something. There's always bad. You always gotta work on yourself. You know, you don't have to see yourself as a negative person. You don't have to see the bad in yourself necessarily.
Mm.
But you definitely have to work on becoming your best self. And your best self is unachievable, in my opinion. Like, the perfect person does not exist.
The person you want yourself to be is.
Yeah. It continues to be a different person. Because there's a variable time. You know, people don't take time into people don't take into, like, variable change. Like, everything is constantly changing. Every second, something is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to stay the same. So you constantly, that's like the innovative sense of everything I'm thinking of. It's taken me, I had an idea for a business. I still have it. But my business idea, I actually started 2018. It is not opened yet. I had plans to open it this year, finally. And I'm still not there because I constantly am just like taking out all the flaws, because when I open, I want it to be successful. I want it to be perfect, and there's constant change in what it needs to be in my head. So I just need to take the leap on that eventually. But it's a process. It's something. Change is constantly happening.
For sure. And a lot of the times when you when you have an idea, people are going to comment negatively on it until you actually create what you're talking about, because only you can see your vision. You can do your best to explain your vision to somebody, but your vision is a picture you have in your head
Yeah.
of what you want life to be like at some point, and you can define that in adjective, or you can you can define that in words, but you're not going to get the point across of what your plan is until you can see it, because a lot of people lack imagination and they lack the interest to listen to your idea. So if you can just execute to where you can show them, hey, look, here's a couple of my products, the logo's on the page, your phone number's on the page, like if you can give out a feasible idea, people are going to be more inclined to take kindly to a product than an idea.
When you've taken it from an idea to a creation.
Right, because a lot of people will swipe right past it. I mean, like we say, people have good ideas every day. Do they think they're worth executing on? No, because they think, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And, I just think of how many buildings there are. I mean, think of how many $1 million buildings are just in our hometown. People own those buildings, and people own those businesses that are in those buildings. There's plenty for everybody out there, but if you're not feeling sorry for yourself, but if you feel like you belong in this middle class, or you belong where you're at in your life right now, I feel really sorry for you, because that's like the biggest thing I look forward to, is just wanting to be able to prove that, not to anybody, but prove to myself that I deserve to be, in that group of people.
And
because if there's so many people locally who are doing it, who's to say I can't do it when I think I'm great?
Yeah, and you got to make yourself great, and you got to believe in it, and if you're not, you got to work on it, and you have to build. It's like, everybody starts somewhere. When I was working out in high school, I was a lot smaller than some of my friends, and we went to the gym, started going to the gym in probably like 6th or 7th grade, and they were lifting a lot more weight than me. They were also bigger than me, but it hurt me a little bit. I was like, man, he's doing all this and whatever. He had been working on it for like a year more than me. So I get there and working out with my friend, and his dad is helping us. We're young. He's helping us to figure out what we're doing. And I would get so discouraged because he's pushing more weight than me. And he said to me, he was like, everybody starts somewhere. And that's just it. You have to start. Everybody does start somewhere. And if it takes you longer than it takes somebody else, so what? You're going to be there at some point. You have to be as successful as you're making yourself. You're only going to be as successful as you want to be.
Yeah, if you're destined for it, you'll do it. But if you have a clear opportunity and you actively let it pass you by,
Yeah.
if you're actively passive on that idea and you decide that you're not going to pursue something, you are limiting what your reality can be.
Yeah.
And if you're destined for it, you might do it years down the road. I mean, everybody will fall into where they're supposed to be at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way the universe works. Everybody is moving toward their end, their beginning, their tomorrow. Everybody's just moving toward that next chapter. And,
Yeah.
some people think that how they're feeling today is going to last forever. And
Yeah.
your life can change very quickly.
Yeah, it definitely. I've experienced that a lot in my life. Like, everything has changed multiple times,
Yeah.
A lot of people in, like, high school, especially my end of my sophomore year and beginning of my junior year, I was headed down a really bad path, legally, and just with stuff like going to school. I missed 88 days of school. If anybody knows how long the school year is, that's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's like half.
Yeah, that at least half.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even on the right track to graduate, and I was going through a lot of stuff at home, and if I were back there right now and I seen myself where I was today, I wouldn't believe it. Like, I wouldn't believe I had money in the bank, I had a job, I wasn't into, I don't know, I wasn't into, like, partying, I wasn't into being around the wrong people, doing things wrong, and now I'm just working on building myself and attaining a career in some path, and helping out the community and things like that. And between my junior year and my senior year, something switched in my brain. Like, this is not working. I don't feel good. I'm not healthy. None of what I'm doing is healthy for my mind, my body, my life. And I flipped that switch, and then my senior year, started going to school every day, and my grades improved drastically. Like, I had my first 4.0 of high school my senior year.
Nice.
My junior year, I had a 0.2 grade point average. That's a big difference. From a
Yeah, it's a
0.2
big
to a 4.0, that's drastic.
Definitely.
And I graduated on time. I had to, most people, their senior years, they're going to like one class that actually means something. Everything else is just whatever. My senior year, I had to go to every single class. I had to show up every day. I had to do all the work. And I did. And everything just changed for me. And now things are starting to fall in line. And I'm starting to see a real path. And things can change so quick. Like, just that one little showing up to school every day and doing what it's brought me somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just, people don't think change is possible, and it very much so is. Like, it is.
Yeah, and for you, it was just something in your head that clicked and said,
Mm.
"Hey, I need to do this." You know.
Yeah, stop being a dickhead.
Sometimes you don't have control to how you act. Like for me, for example, waking up, like I have this on and off thing I run into where I'll want to hit snooze 10 times and I won't wake up, and I'll do that for a couple months. And then I'll have a couple months where I'll wake up at 7 a.m. every single day I don't even need an alarm.
Yeah.
I wake myself up, or 6 a.m. And it's crazy that you know, you're just witnessing what's going on with your not your mortality, but your soul. Like you're not in control, whether you feel like you're in control or not. You're kind of still witnessing a consciousness. You know, you can't control what comes out of your mouth sometimes, and you can't control your actions sometimes. I mean, whether people like to believe it or not, if you're weak and you have an addictive personality and there's something that pulls you toward it, you know, whether you think you're in control or not, if you pursue that drug or whatever it is, that's still a weakness that's been instilled in you from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can change that, and you can change the future, but for you to take that drug, that's you simply not knowing any better, because if you knew better, you'd be doing better.
Yeah.
So some people can avoid issues, just like some people can avoid drugs.
Yeah.
But sometimes I guess you have to. It's just a part of life. You have to, if you're addicted to drugs, and you need to go through that addiction to realize that you have some shit that you need to fix in your life.
Yeah.
Then that's what it took.
Yeah.
I mean,
I understand in a sense what you're saying. I've been there. You know, I've had some issues myself. It is a decision that you make. It is we are all faced with decisions that we need to make every day. I understand that part. You have to learn how to not make bad decisions. And that's something that's really difficult, especially if you have mental disabilities, or you have something going on like that. It's hard to get out of something like that. It's hard. It's very difficult.
Your focus is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're focusing on, wanting to sit at home and be on your phone, or you're focused on a habit that you're not happy with,
you have to reflect. You have to sit back.
Yeah,
and,
you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and take yourself to the place that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Whether you go for a walk or just start a new routine. You know, I think.
Yeah. Try new things.
I think if you're in a really, like, if you're in a bad place and it's not great and you're oversleeping, you're missing work, like I was at one point, for even if it's for no reason, if I forget the point I was going for, but if you go through that, there's ability for change, because you've then had a new experience of failure, and you're gonna feel the consequences of.
Yeah.
I guess.
I just think reflection and being honest to yourself is definitely a big part of life. Sometimes you gotta look back and be like, dang, I really messed up. And you can't just sit there. You can lie to whoever you want to, you can sit there and lie to whoever, but you will know the truth about you. You will know what happened when, whatever, and what you were doing wrong. And the only one that can fix any of that is you. And that's just like, you have to sit back and, I don't know, meditate. I meditate.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. And I think the consciousness consciousness that you're experiencing is, you know, it affects me. Like, since I've kind of grown up, I've noticed that same thing that you're talking about. You're the only one who's going to be consequence to your thoughts, your actions. So when you do something bad, it's no longer in your best interest to do something bad. You're held accountable.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I saw something that said the it was like the worst type of people on this earth are the type of people who don't put their shopping carts back into the right spot.
Yeah.
Or they just leave them out in the parking lot because, you know, it's like showing signs of anarchy and laziness and, you know, a lot of things. So now I'm like openly conscious when I think, like, I don't think I've ever left a shopping cart out in a parking
Yeah.
lot, but I've put my stuff away and I've thought I definitely can't leave the shopping cart in the parking lot because I know what type of people do that.
Yeah.
So
And another thing similar to that is I think I've been in the car with a lot of people, as everybody, you know. When people have road rage, I sit back and I think when somebody like cuts me off, you know, most people are like, oh, I hate this person, you know, they're cussing them out, whatever, and honking their horn. And have you ever cut somebody off on accident? You know,
Yeah.
you're getting on the highway, you're having a bad day, or you didn't know what you were doing, and you didn't realize it was happening, or whatever.
of course.
You made a bad move. I've done that. And I think of how bad I felt when somebody was honking at me and flicking me off and cussing me out and stuff. And you'd see them in their car like, what are you doing? So every time somebody does something like that to me when I'm driving, I don't take my frustrations out on them. I just, you know, it's fine. I didn't die. It's okay.
That's good. I suppose you
know.
made a mistake, but you also
Yeah, because you have no idea what those people...
played the right person.
You have no idea what somebody's going through in
Right.
a day. Or, you know, maybe their dog just died.
Right. For
And-
somebody speeding, I've always heard you never know, like, how big of a hurry they're in.
Yeah.
The wife could be pregnant.
Yeah,
That's
or-
why they're freaking out that you're stopped at a green arrow. you know?
Yeah, or like they got 5 minutes to be to work and everybody's ran late to work. I don't care who you are. And maybe it's their third strike and they're out. So they need to get to work
Yeah.
before they're fired, and then what, they lose everything? See, so just like little things don't bother me really. I'm really learned to be a laid back person and not let little things get to me, because I just don't know what somebody could be going through.
Yeah, well, you got too much to focus on for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked about it earlier. Whether it's somebody is getting you angry on the freeway, or even if it's like a racist person on Facebook,
Yeah.
you know, when you have so much going on in your own life, you can stand up for what you think is right, but you have to really play this. I know this has been a hot topic lately for some reason, but your fight or flight response. You know, you have to decide if you're going to be the person who fights this issue and damages a relationship, which in some cases it's the right thing to do when I guess it's something you really stand for, but I think in a lot of cases in today's society, especially adults, older adults, I think they feel the need to voice their opinion to where they feel the need to fight with anybody who disagrees with them. And
Yeah.
nobody has that flight response to where it almost feels like, at least for me, it feels like you're enlightened if you can sometimes just keep your mouth. When you're this person who, you have many bridges you're going to cross with other people in the future, relationships you have today that are going to affect you in the future. The more people you make yourself enemy to, the more people you push yourself away from, the less opportunity you have with that person in the future, whether you believe it or not. So I just think it's really important for me personally. If somebody who I know personally who's uneducated about a topic, and they're trying to push their opinion and they want to make themselves look like idiots, I am not going to be in a million years tell somebody who's uneducated who's trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let that affect me to where I even feel the need to respond to it. I may feel the need to separate myself from it, but to put myself in a position to where you make yourself vulnerable by starting fights on Facebook
Yeah.
and starting fights with people about your political views, because you're risking everything. You're risking relationships. You don't know how many people react to what you say on Facebook, whether they heart it or like it or comment on it or anything. If you post something that is portrays you in some way, people aren't going to let you know how that made them feel about you.
Yeah.
So you have to be very you can be as outspoken as you want, but for me to be a real estate agent, it's really important for me to stay away from that, not only for my job, but for my personal health,
Yeah, I think
If you let shit affect you on Facebook from your family's going to be split in half, because everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to fight about politics. Why?
There's a lot of controversial things going on right now, and it's hard for people to see both sides, and that's who I am. I can sit and talk to a Democrat all day, and I'm not good at voicing my own opinion because I haven't developed a strict opinion, and I don't, on any topic really, and I don't think that I ever will have a strict opinion because that's not who I am. Most things I'm very open to hearing both sides, and I can see where both sides of any argument are coming from. And the thing is we don't need to say this is what is right and this is what it should be, and if you're not in agreement with it, you're wrong. And that's what I feel like right now, in the year 2020, every topic that has come up, everything, is somebody, it's always one-sided, like, oh, you don't do this, well, you're wrong. Oh, you're gonna vote for this person, you're wrong. I'm unfollowing you. And it's become like an unfollow is like, I never want you in my life anymore. That's where we're at, people are so opinionated, but they don't want to educate themselves. They want to be right. And
well, it becomes the hill you stand on when you push it so hard. I mean, if whether you back one political party or another, when you put yourself on this hill and you believe these things that, like, for example, there's a lot of uncertainty in 2020. Every issue, there's two sides of, and
there's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground, and nobody knows for certain if what they're backing is going to be the right decision in the future.
Yeah.
And people are dying on the hill they stand on, just to spew something that, just to be regular people are almost just a medium for politicians to get their political views out. Or I don't like how every thought on issues has to be put to politics.
Yeah.
I'm centrist, and I wish everybody would be. I have this thing where I wish everybody would just, not make themselves look stupid online.
Yeah, and I don't agree with a lot. Like, I can see why people feel a certain way, but it doesn't mean I agree with them, and there's not enough people that are willing to say, oh, I understand your opinion. I get where you're coming from. But let me tell you where I'm coming from. People say that's what you should do, but do they do it? No. Nobody does that. Nobody sits and wants to sit down and have an educational thing with you and wants to tell you why they feel this way and help you learn, and maybe you don't even care, I think when I was in college for like a couple months, and I was in this, I forget what the class was called, but we learned a lot about philosophy and arguments, and it was like a good argument, you have to listen, and you have to be willing to change. Those are the two things in every argument you have to do. In an argument,
You don't have to do them. I think 95% of the people don't.
those are like the thing for a good argument. That's what what needs to happen for a good one.
Yes.
You need to listen. You need to be willing to change. And the goal of an argument is not to be right. It's not for anybody to be right. A good argument is meant to come up with the best idea, and how to do that is you have to be willing to compromise. Like, we're not at a stance. Nobody's compromising in any aspect. Like, it's just, you're wrong, I'm right, end of it. I don't want to be around you if one thing isn't the same. And we really need to open our minds to that, because that's a big deal. We're not, if everybody could work together, that would be perfect, but we're never going to reach that if nobody tries.
Mhm. Yeah, and a lot of people don't want to try. They just,
It's easier not to.
well, and that's why I'm happy that someday people of our generation will be at the top and will be able to make the decisions, because the people out there today who voice their opinion so strongly, they voice their opinion so strongly that they make everybody else quieter, because they have to have the most radical opinion, to where other people don't want to talk because there's no sophisticated conversation going on, whether that's between president and the media. There's nothing sophisticated going on there. There's no sophisticated conversation going on in politics or the state of America, because nobody's looking out for the goal of having a good conversation or to solve an issue. Everybody is pushing their own politics, and everybody has their own hills that they're dying on. So time moves on, and people will this stuff will go away, and it'll all be repeated, and everybody will have their stances on certain issues and want to fight about it and everything, but it only damages your life, because all your relationships with everybody around you, if you're choosing a side, for a percentage of people on the other side, you're turning them away from you.
Yeah.
Because they just don't want to hear it. And it's like, why put yourself in that position just to let everybody know that you agree with a certain idea? I mean, do people think that they're going to make more supporters by treating the opposing party that way?
Yeah, it's
It makes you think, where's it going to go, and is there ever going to be any change with the two-party system? And is there ever going to be an independent vote again? Is there ever going to be somebody who has a voice of reason in this position again?
Another thing that is hard for a young person like myself, it's the first time I'm ever going to be able to vote, and same with you. I'm very much a person that formulates things. I like to look at everything. Like, when I get into something, I really want to know. I dive into all the facts and all the things that I can learn about it before I say something that sounds stupid. Before I make a decision that isn't the best decision. I want to make the best decision, and I need to know everything around it. It's hard for me to find facts. It's hard for me to believe any information coming from anybody, because what is facts? Like, the only way for me to get answers is to actually do my own research and actually spend all my time figuring out, oh, this is how much money this person made. Oh, this is where all this money's going. It would be endless for me to actually dive into everything I need to know to make a good conscious decision. And that's one thing that's very troubling is this information should all be easy for us to access. Everything else is very easy for us to access. And information about who our leader is going to be, what their what their goals are, and everything like that should be very easy for us to see with everything.
Yeah, all their platforms, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which I suppose they are available if you watch their rallies.
But what are the facts like throughout the coronavirus?
But a lot of it you're not going to know the facts until the person executes. I mean, you know, a person elected in an office is elected because they have charisma, not because they can solve problems.
Yeah, I mean, how do people think Hitler got into the position he was in? He's not a good person. Not endorsing him. I mean, I'm completely against it. You know, that was a terrible time in history. But one thing to say about Hitler is he was a great speaker. He knew how to move people in a way that he was able to get in a position like that. And that's the only reason he got into the position he was in. Not Absolutely. That he was right in any sense at all, because he wasn't.
Because his intentions seemed right. I mean, he was able to convey that his intentions were right, but he was a completely different master. It was just a facet of his plan.
Yeah.
You know, the facet of he wasn't, in these guys' eyes, he was trying to better Germany. But in the eyes of him, he was trying to dominate, he was trying to
take over the world.
And he was trying to commit monstrosities and kill all those people. So how can you trust a politician when they're just telling you what they can to move you?
What you want to hear.
Yeah, there's nobody out there who can predict the future. All that you can do is speculate. So you gather the facts. You don't go out there with your fact sheet and start arguing with everybody and start telling everybody what you believe. You get your facts. You don't fight about it. You maybe spectate, but you don't interact with opposition.
Yeah.
And you make an informed decision when you go to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can do.
That's another thing. I was always told from a young age, you don't ask somebody what their political views, who they're voting for.
No, people will be glad to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, but I was always told that when I was younger, and then I don't know if it was just because I was younger that I didn't know, or because it wasn't happening then, but I don't understand what the change was. And now when people are so freely speaking on their opinions and stuff, you know, or just who they're voting for, as simple as that, people are, you know, letting it be known. And I don't know if that's a good thing. It's definitely not something for me. I'm not going to come out here. Like, right now, nobody probably knows. Maybe my girlfriend knows where my views are on everything, but nobody really knows who I'm voting for. Nobody needs to know. That's between me and myself. But
yeah, I get it.
I think that's where everybody needs to lie. Like, because then we wouldn't have people hating each other for what reason?
That's what people need to do. You need to keep your views to yourself. You need to keep your memes to yourself about politics, because they're most likely not true. And they're most likely some sort of propaganda.
Yeah, and stop sharing stupid articles that are not even... The media is going to blow everything out of proportion.
The only thing that I could listen to and get some truth out of was other podcasts.
Yeah.
And Twitter, sometimes.
Yeah. Even those aren't... That's not something you need to, like, ride off of, you know?
No, it's not.
You
need to inform yourself on articles, but, you know, it's...
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you either know a lot, you either know it all, or you know nothing. Because if you find yourself in the middle, then you're misinformed. If you only know a little bit about a situation,
Yeah. The more you know, the better your decision will be.
Absolutely. And I think everybody should. I think everybody our age should vote.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I feel it necessary for me to vote. I have the freedom to, which in most places you don't.
A lot of people don't find it necessary to vote
Yeah.
because
And
they don't have a position on things and they
Yeah.
don't vote. But
see, I don't either, but I don't have a position on a lot of things. I do, for a sense, but I can see both sides, and it's very hard for me. And it makes me not want to vote at all, but I know it's my duty to. Like, I know I need to, regardless.
Absolutely. Yeah, you do because. Yeah.
Yeah, you just do.
Yeah, because our voices matter,
Yeah,
especially in this last 4 years. How much has happened in these last 4 years to where all the people our age need to voice their opinion because it's important to know how they feel.
everything that's happened in this year.
Yeah, and
It's all
everybody.
telling. It's
because
all
it-
telling you to vote. No matter what your opinion is, this year, 2020 is showing you, vote.
Right. Well, vote and hope that we get better candidates next time around.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, either side.
But
I'm not
think there's-
confident.
I think there's a lot of similarities to them, but I also think that there's probably a few things that you can make your mind up off of based off of what the policies they carry. But I feel like I don't know. I don't know. Let's get off the topic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. How's it like you just moved into your new house? What's that like?
It's great. I would suggest for anybody, whether you're young or old, to build your credit,
Yeah, definitely.
create a budget, and be a homeowner because renting sucks
Yeah,
for everybody.
yeah,
It sucks to live with your parents. It sucks to, in some cases, it sucks to live with your parents. I suppose for people like us, we kind of faced adversity when we were young to where we might be able to do a little more with ourselves than, say, somebody who's lived with their parents their whole lives
shelter.
till they're 30 years old, and then their parents are like, okay, you gotta get out. Or even live with their
Stepbrother
kids for
situation.
yeah, or, well, even living with your parents for 18 years and your parents never told you what to do. You had a super sheltered, wealthy life. You coming out into the real world after that, you're going to be so blind to all the craziness.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this earlier, but it rings true with everything. The more you encounter, the longer that you encounter something, the more you realize is the challenges that are associated with it. Like you think, for example, something's easy, and then you start looking into it. It's not easy. I mean, we talked about this. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, the new house is nice, cheap, and really comfortable. I think everybody would like to be in the place that I'm in, but I think a lot of people our age don't take the time to prepare themselves to be homeowners.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be paying rent, you can afford a home.
Yeah.
You know?
That's definitely true.
Yeah. So I'm a big advocate for, I'm like a cheerleader to being a homeowner, and I'm happy that I'm able to be a homeowner now.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting there. So we talked about a bunch of stuff today. A lot of business stuff. I kind of expected that a little bit.
that's my,
Yeah.
that's my thing. I can't stop talking. I mean, in the future, I hope to stop doing it so much, but I do talk about business.
Yeah.
Even in social settings, if I find somebody else who likes business, I find myself talking about it and just carrying myself away from everything else that's going on, wanting to talk about it. So it's a habit for me, I suppose.
Yeah. See, I know like I'm into everything, basically, like art stuff, music stuff, hunting, fishing, like outdoor stuff. There you go. Business, basically anything. Like
Yeah, we touched on a lot of that, and then politics.
yeah, and
sadly,
like I'm
but-
into music. I'm into collecting. Like I'm very open to basically everything, religious stuff, anywhere. So really, these podcasts can go anywhere. Traveling. I like to stay home too.
Well,
I
find
like
the
the
guests.
comforts of home.
Invite the guests that are the hunters and
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
the
set up.
musicians and all that.
Yeah,
So-
I've talked to a couple. I talked to a local musician, artist.
That's awesome.
I talked to a preacher. We have one set up. I talked to somebody that's one of my good friends from my hometown. We grew up together, so that one should be interesting.
That's awesome.
Another guy, he's a preacher now. He'll be next week, I think, is when he's gonna be on. So I got a few people that are planning on getting on. Some whoever else from our Manners Matter wants to get on.
Yeah, we'll have to come on as a group, so you'll have me back.
Yeah, there's not enough room on the couch.
Yeah, we might have to get a side chair.
Yeah, something like that. I'm looking for a new setup, maybe. Might be a new setup, cause
Makes sense.
we're moving rooms and stuff and rearranging some things, so this might all be completely different next time.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. Adventures of Bean out.